joining me today. We are making sheet pan pancakes. I am going to liberate you officially today from ever making individual pancakes ever again, I promise. So this recipe is awesome if you have to cook for a group, if you have a big family that you want to cook for and you want to make pancakes. It's also great to make a sheet of these and you can put them in the fridge for the week for breakfast. They heat up excellent in a toaster oven or even in a toaster. Great in the microwave too. So let's get started. I have 3 cups of flour in my mixing bowl. I'm actually going to be using gluten-free flour today. My tummy does not like wheat. So this is the gluten-free flour I'm using. It's from Anita's Organic and I got it at Local Harvest. Now, first thing we're gonna do after we measure out, you can measure out your flour before or after, I just did it before because it was gonna be really messy, is you're going to, in a separate bowl, put your milk and your vinegar. You wanna do this first so that the milk and the vinegar have a little bit of time to combine. You're essentially making something similar to a buttermilk. I am using Earth's Own oat milk today. This is gluten-free and unsweetened, and it's the vanilla flavor. The reason I'm using this one in particular is I really like how it's fortified to match all the vitamins and the calcium, vitamin D that's added to cow's milk. So the nutritional profile is very similar. So I've got 3 cups and I have apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon, give that a little mix. All right, and then you're gonna let that do its thing. Now to my flour, I'm going to be adding baking powder, 3 tablespoons, 1, 2. If you want to be very careful about your measuring, I have a little knife here. You probably should be careful with your measuring when you're baking. As you probably know, if you've watched some other of my videos, I tend to kind of just dump as I go. I'm not very good and meticulous at measuring, but this is one of those recipes where you want to measure. And then we're just adding some salt. Okay, so we're gonna give this a whisk. Whisking helps fluff up your flour because you want nice fluffy pancakes. And just to combine everything. If you want, this would be a great time to add some cinnamon as well or some nutmeg if you want to spice up your pancakes. I'm just gonna keep them traditional. Now, into my wet mixture, I'm going to add maple syrup. If you want to cut out the sweetness, you could probably eliminate that. And then instead of oil, I'm going to be using applesauce. So this is an unsweetened applesauce. And again, you're going to sub it 1 for 1. So 1/3 of a cup. And then your vanilla goes in there as well. Okay, let's give that a stir. We are going to slowly combine the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and you don't want to over mix. So if you're using gluten-free flour, you don't necessarily have to worry about that as much. If you're using regular flour, you don't want to activate the gluten in the flour. That's what makes things chewy. So as you're combining, you're just gonna slowly mix it in and you're gonna pour in small amounts of your liquid as you combine. Don't just dump the whole thing in. I'm gonna pull out my trusty spatula for this. So I kind of make a hole or a well in the middle and pour some of my wet in and just fold it in slowly. Okay, add a little bit more. So you can treat this like a typical pancake batter. If it's lumpy, that's okay too. It doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. And my batter is getting frothy as I combine it, and that is the vinegar activating with the baking powder. We're going to bake this in an 11 by 16 sheet pan. You can see here. If you have parchment paper, I would recommend that you put parchment paper down and then lightly grease it. Fits perfectly. So you want to bake this for a minimum of 5 minutes just to get it to set up. And then you're gonna add your berries, because if you add your berries first, they're just gonna sink right to the bottom. So you want it to set up a little bit, and then you can add your berries. You can add anything you want, anything you like to top your pancakes with. Nuts are really good on this, walnuts or pecans, raisins, blueberries, raspberries, apples, bananas are delicious. If you wanna do like a banana chocolate chip mix or a banana chocolate chip walnut. You could even section it in depending on who likes what. If you have somebody in your family who doesn't like raspberries, maybe they get chocolate chips on their section. Our pancakes have been baking for 5 minutes. So I'm going to drop on the raspberries. So we're going to bake it for another 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on it, set a timer, and you're just going to bake it until a toothpick comes out clean. And if you like the top of your pancakes browned, at the end of your baking, once you think they're ready, you can broil it for a few minutes, but I would just keep a very close eye on it. The pancakes have been in the oven for about 9 minutes. And they look good to me. Let's do the toothpick test, right in the middle. Perfectly clear. Now if you're using gluten-free flour, you might have to cook it a little bit longer. If you're using regular flour, maybe a little bit less. It all depends on everybody's ovens. So you're gonna wanna serve these with syrup or icing sugar, however you normally eat your pancakes. I hope you enjoy.